first, her boyfriend battled her neighbor.
You know that he was just being a jerk.
He's a very tall gentleman, so I did call the police.
Then her father joined the fight.
He called me a prostitute. His other daughter started calling me names.
I did call her a few names. I didn't call her no prostitute. I used other words.
I wouldn't smile if I were you.
This is Judge Judy. Chanel Barnes is suing her neighbor, Brittany Ponce, and her father, Richard, for a car insurance deductible, rental car charges, and harassment.
Now, this is case number 113 on the calendar in the matter of Barnes versus Ponce. Parties have been sworn in. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Thank you, Bird. Miss Barnes, you and this young lady live in a fourplex together. The co-defendant is her father. He does not live there. Is that correct, sir?
No.
With regard to her father, it is your allegation that he damaged your car while it was on the premises of the fourplex. Your car was repaired, and you want the $500 deductible that you had to pay. The defendant, Mr. Ponce, says that while he acknowledges he hit your car because you were parked in a spot you shouldn't have been in to have hit you. That's your defense.
Yes, ma'am.
You also have an allegation that both parties have engaged in a course of conduct that justifies a cause of action for harassment. Both Mr. Ponce and his daughter, who is the tenant, have a counterclaim for harassment. How long have you been living in this fourplex?
I've been living there over a year now. April of 2019 is when I initially moved in.
And how long have you been living there, Ms. Ponce?
I've been there since March 8th of 2018.
So you've been living there longer?
Yes.
And you live there by yourself?
I live there with my 4 children.
At some point, I gather, things were relatively quiet until the plaintiff and your boyfriend got into some sort of a confrontation.
Yeah, about the
Over
parking. Yes.
When was that?
This was, I believe, April 7th.
So before this, you and Miss Barnes didn't have any issues?
No, I've never spoke to her, only
Is that
regarding
right?
her
Yes,
dog.
that's correct.
So you had no issues before the boyfriend had an
Yes.
issue. Is he still the boyfriend?
Yes, he is.
Tell me very briefly what happened on the 7th of April with regard to the parking space and Miss Ponce's boyfriend.
Yes, so April 8th was the initial day, which I do have photos of the vehicle blocking my patio. I was coming home from work around 5:40. I normally make it home. Baby's father was in my parking spot. Where I park is the patio, and it's also access to my garage. So I couldn't access my garage to park in or the front of my patio.
May I see it?
So this is the photo that was taken in April 8th when I came home from work.
So the picture of this car is Miss Ponce's boyfriend's car.
Yes, that's correct.
Can you point in that picture where your garage is or your parking space?
Well, I'm going to show this other photo, which is better. My place is here. The garage is actually right across from it.
So the defendant's boyfriend's car was blocking you from either parking right behind your house or making the turn into the garage.
Yes, that's correct.
So what did you do?
So I went to knock on the door, and of course he came right outside. I said, can you move your vehicle because I'm trying to go ahead and park in my garage, or at least where I park in front of my patio. He says, I can move my vehicle for you to park in your garage, but I'm going to park my car back right there, meaning if I need to come back out, I have to knock on the door for you to move your vehicle again. Of course, he's a very tall gentleman, and I'm a female. So I did call the police to go ahead and try to get him to move the vehicle, which they did. And I was able to park there, and everything was squashed that day.
No.
But no police report was made.
Stop shaking your head.
Oh, okay.
So your boyfriend was parked right behind her patio.
Yes, right by the side of her patio.
That is her patio.
Yes.
Did you tell him that he could park there?
No, I didn't. He decided to park there just because, oh, sorry.
So you're the tenant.
Yes, I told him to move the car, but he was like, it's not a parking spot for her. I could park there. So I said, you know what, you deal with it then because it's your car. So he decided to deal with it himself. But I was outside as a standby witnessing everything.
Okay. Miss Ponce, you know that he was just being a jerk.
I mean, Your Honor, I have the papers saying that she can't
look at
park
me.
there.
Look at me.
Yeah.
Women who understand that sometimes people get jerky. And I just want you to realize what happened. You
Yes.
and your 4 children
Yes.
have lived in this complex peacefully with a neighbor
Yes.
since you moved in.
Yes.
Jerk comes along, parks where you never parked.
I didn't have a car
And
at
you're
that
the
time.
tenant.
I didn't have a car at that time.
If you did, you wouldn't have parked there, right?
Just to avoid the conflict with her,
If you
yes.
did, well, because it's not the right thing to do. It means that if she has to get into the garage, she has to come knock at your door.
Oh, yes.
And say, could you move your car, or ask the boyfriend to move his car? So clear.
He could have been, yes, Your Honor. But what gives her
Yeah,
the
he
right
was.
to park right there, and other cars are trying to get in and out of the garage, too? Why is that okay?
Just a second.
Okay.
It looks to me as if she parks there. The only person that's impacted by that is her.
Yes.
The next house over can swing into the garage. If there is apartment beyond that, they can swing into the garage. She's the only one that can't swing into her garage if somebody parks in front of her patio. Is that right?
That is right. But if she's parked right there, the other tenants can't get to their garages. They have to squeeze past her because there's trash cans right there, Your Honor, and then her car is right there. So we have to squeeze in between her because she doesn't want to park into her garage where there's nothing in there.
Have you ever had that problem?
Yes, Your Honor. Well, I mean, I've used my garage not for my car.
So you've never had that problem?
Not getting into my garage because I don't
The answer
park
is you've never had that problem. The only one who had that problem is the boyfriend.
Yes.
Okay. Now we get to the incident with your car, Miss Barnes, because that had to do not with the boyfriend.
Yes.
That had to do with Mr. Ponce. Now, Mr. Ponce, I want you to show me where you were parked and where she was parked when you hit her car, because you acknowledge that you hit her car.
I know what pictures I took. Okay, Your Honor. The van was parked where she stated she could not enter her garage, which is A is her garage, my daughter's garage is B. That's where I was working on the vehicle.
Okay, just a second. You were working on your daughter's car, because now she has a car.
Yes.
She told me before she didn't have a car.
She had just purchased it.
You're working on her car, parked not near the house, but near the garage.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct?
The garage structure is a separate...
I understand exactly what it is, sir. The garage structure is on the other side of this alleyway.
Yes.
On one side are the apartments, and there's a little space there so that you can swing into your garage. If you park your car there, you can't do both. You can't park in the garage and swing in. But you're in front of your daughter's garage space, and it looks like the next space, the C space, you're also in front of that spot. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Who owns the C space?
The tenants upstairs.
Well, what were you doing working on your daughter's car, blocking their garage?
The tenants upstairs, ma'am, have a vehicle that's not running in their garage, so they don't use their garage as access for parking. I'm aware of that.
Okay, well, you're still blocking somebody else's garage.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just stating a fact.
Yes.
And C, doing work on the car. Now, I want to see on April 7th or 8th,
Yes.
if you have a photograph where her car was that you hit.
It's right there, ma'am.
Okay, that's her car.
Yes, ma'am, on her patio side.
Okay, I got it. That's exactly what I thought it was.
Thank you, ma'am.
Your car is the white car.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. And you were in the open garage.
Yes, ma'am.
You were working on your daughter's car, and you were half in front of the B garage, your daughter's garage, and the C garage.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you were backing out, Mr. Ponce.
Yes, ma'am.
You were backing out, and you hit her car.
Yes.
Okay. When you started working on your daughter's car, was Miss Barnes's car there?
No, ma'am.
Okay. When did you see her come in?
She pulled up approximately, I'm going to say, a good half hour after our service, because we had to go to the auto parts store and get a part for the car.
So you knew her car was there.
Yes.
And you backed out and backed into the side of her car, and you went to her door, according to you, and told her you backed into her car.
No, I stayed
Whatever it is, whether
Yes.
it was an accident, you saw her car pull in. So if she had a $500 deductible, you have proof of your deductible?
Yes, I do.
Then you're responsible for her $500 deductible.
So here's the pictures of the damages.
Got it.
And it was all damage to my side mirror and to the driver door.
And can I see the bill with the $500 deductible?
These are the bills from the auto body shop.
Okay, just go
And
down.
I'm sorry, this is the one that's actually showing the $500 deductible that I had to pay towards my car being fixed.
Okay, now let's deal with the harassment. So far we know that there was absolutely no trouble between the two of you. You lived peacefully. The defendant with her 4 children and sometimes with the boyfriend because he's the father of your youngest child.
Yes.
But there was no trouble with you until the jerk.
That's correct.
Until the jerk parked where he shouldn't have. I'd like you to tell me what you allege either of the defendants do to harass you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There's times when I'm on the patio with my dog and people's going in her garage. They're just like mean mugging me. I don't know if they're going to end up going in my place.
I wouldn't smile if I were you because this thing all got started, Miss Ponce.
Yes.
Because of your jerk.
Barnes says her neighbor's father, Richard Ponce, backed into her car. She is suing Richard and his daughter Brittany for her insurance deductible, rental car fees, and harassment. The defendants are countersuing also for harassment.
I'd like you to tell me what you allege either of the defendants do to harass you.
So the harassment actually took place October 4th. This is the report that I did make towards it. It happened on the weekend. I was coming back from grocery shopping at a local store. Richard Ponce and the other sister that drives a black vehicle was parked right in front of also the patio, again, blocking where I can go into my driveway. So I began to proceed with unloading my vehicle. In the midst of unloading, I noticed the vehicle started to kind of back up, the black vehicle with the other daughter of Richard Ponce. Of course, I have a little traumatized from them hitting my vehicle, so I went to go ahead and let me move my car so they can get out the way before I unload it. In the midst of me unloading it, I see a lot of head movement, and I don't know her name, Your Honor, but his other daughter started calling me names. They both started to pull their cameras out, started recording me, telling me I don't supposed to be parked there, and I have a dog. Like, they were just saying all type of stuff. He also called me a...
So they were recording you...
Yes.
...parking in the driveway, and you were recording them, and you were exchanging words that were nasty.
Well, I didn't exchange any words. They were mostly doing the name calling.
I don't care about his other daughter, who's not here, who's not a defendant. This woman was not in the car.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to concentrate only on harassment by Mr. Ponce, if that's the incident that you're referring to.
Yes, it is.
Did you ultimately move your car?
Yes, after they left, I was able to pull into my garage. That's correct.
Okay, so they ultimately left?
Yes.
With just some name calling and video?
Yes.
By each of you?
Correct.
Okay, it doesn't rise to the level of harassment. Now, is that the only incident that you have to tell me where you felt as if you were harassed by either of the defendants?
Well, also just to go ahead and add also, Brittany have a home where a lot of people traffic, high volume of traffic coming in and out her home and garage. I live alone. My patio is there. There's times when I'm on the patio with my dog and people's going to her garage, mean mugging me. And these are men, and I live alone, Your Honor. I'm a female. I felt intimidated because they're just like mean mugging me. I don't know if they're going to end up going in my place or if they're going to do something.
Okay, well, I have to tell you that while I'm sympathetic, it's not actionable. Her guests, if they come in and are behaving in a rude fashion to you that you find intimidating, it's not an actionable form of harassment, what you've told me, and they're not defendants. I wouldn't smile if I were you, because this thing all got started, Miss Ponce.
Yes.
This whole thing got started because of your jerk. You do understand that.
I suppose,
All
Your
got
Honor.
started because of your jerk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I did call her a few names. I didn't call her no prostitute. I used other words. That's when she got really defensive and, oh, why you gotta get all hostile? Why you gotta do this? She proceeded to go in her vehicle and pull out a taser on me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Chanel Barnes says neighbor Brittany Ponce and her father Richard owe for damages to her car and harassment.
You know, you were two reasonable women who lived in a place
Yeah.
quietly
Yes.
until your jerk parked where he shouldn't have.
Right.
And when she asked him to move his car, he said, I'll move it so you can get in. She's got to, again, come and knock at the door for him to move the car. He was being a jerk.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Great. All right. So that's what we have in harassment. You've got $500 from Mr. Ponce, which is your deductible, which you're absolutely entitled to. Now, you have a cross-claim for harassment.
Yes, ma'am.
You want to get to it? Go.
I was threatened with the taser the day that she accused me of harassing her. The day that happened, I was servicing my grandchildren's bicycles in the garage. My daughter entered the driveway, didn't get her to exit her vehicle. The plaintiff pulls up right behind my daughter, mind you, videotaping on her phone. She asked my daughter, "What are you doing?" My daughter told her, "I'm trying to leave. Can you move your car?" She stated, "Excuse me." My daughter did use profanity and addressed her. "I am trying to move my car. Can you move your car?" and called her the word. That's when she got really defensive and, "Oh, why you got to get all hostile? Why you got to do this?" I told my daughter, she's instigating things. Just back the car up. She did move her car and parked it by her patio where she's not supposed to be parked. And my daughter was backing out. She proceeded to go in her vehicle and pull out a taser on me and threatened me with her taser. And I told her, "I am not scared of your two names." I didn't call her no prostitute. I used other words. And, yeah, I was hostile because she called me a drug addict and other things prior to this, but she was instigating this scene. And her neighbor upstairs, I don't know who she is, but...
Don't tell me what anybody said.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning sponsored by... Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Were you helpful to your daughter before the plaintiff moved in?
Yes.
Right. Then the plaintiff moved in.
Yes.
And there were no incidents.
No incidents, ma'am. Not with me.
There were no incidents. No incidents with you. No incidents with your daughter.
No, ma'am.
None.
Yes.
Do you know, Mr. Ponce, when all the incidents started, that all this anger flared up?
No, I wasn't aware of all
Because this anger.
Yes.
All this anger flared up because of the jerk.
Right. I understand that she didn't have to take that out on me. I went to her door and...
That's true. Well, that's true. But then we began to take, the parents who were supposed to be cool. Now, your daughter is aggravated because the boyfriend is aggravated. Can't park there. She's not going to argue with him. She said to him, "You shouldn't park there, but I'm not dealing with it." You know, she just didn't want to deal with him.
Right.
She said, "Not the right thing to do. Don't do it." He got confrontational anyway.
Yes.
So, is it still an ongoing problem?
No, it's not. Not with me, Your Honor.
Okay, great. What about with you?
I avoid contact
Is it
with
an
all
ongoing-
matters, Your Honor. I put my head down. I walk in the house. I try not to do any contact with them or people in their home.
Great. And what about you?
Other besides the CPS coming to my house, no.
So, Child Protective Services came to your house?
Yes, they did.
And you believe it was as a result of
Oh,
that?
yes.
I assume they came to the house?
Yes.
And I assume that they found nothing?
Yep.
And they left you alone?
Yes, they did,
Great.
Your Honor.
Okay, good. Judgment for the plaintiff of the amount of $500. The counterclaim for harassment is dismissed. We're finished here. Thank you very much.
This case is concluded. Parties are excused.
And on the next Judge Judy, a mother and son with control issues.
I just picked up the frying pan in case she attacked me.
You're a teenager with whom she had a fight and who picked up a frying pan.
Judge Judy.
Honestly, they're unemployed people, and they just sit there and watch me come and go. So honestly, I'm thinking it's jealousy.
Because she thinks she's above the law, and she knew the cop that she called anyways, just like CPS.
That's all false. I don't know any police officers. I don't have any family members that work in the law enforcement or anything.
She threatened me with the taser. She threatened me that if she brings somebody else, they're going to come with more than just the taser.
That's just all false lies.
I'm not going to pay no $3,000 for a scratch on the door.
That's the next step. A restraining order is my next step towards Richard.
They packed up all of our stuff and had it by the front door.
A couple says the virus left them vulnerable.
You were laid off in early February because of COVID?
Yes, ma'am.
The landlord's cure
We actually were locked out of the house in February.
was to kick them out.
You were illegally locked out.
She cursed me out and threatened
to punch me in the face.
This is Judge Judy. Sharon Suessy and her boyfriend Deontay Lawrence are suing their former landlord, Eilena James, for the return of rent, the value of their belongings, and
13 on the calendar in the matter of Suessy, Lawrence versus James. The parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Thanks, Bird.
You're welcome, Judge.
Miss Suessy, you and Mr. Lawrence live together. He's your boyfriend.
Yes.
And you have a child, according to what I read here.
Yes, I have a 3-year-old.
And Mr. Lawrence is not that child's father.
No, ma'am.
You and Mr. Lawrence are expecting a child of your own?
Yes.
Okay. When did you move into a house that is owned by Mrs. James?
We moved in October 1st of 2019.
How did you find that room?
Her granddaughter is actually one of my friends. We grew up at the church together.
But Miss James was not living in the house. Her granddaughter was living in the house. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So whatever arrangement you made with regard to living in the house, whatever agreement was made with the granddaughter?
Yes, she was acting
and
as the house manager.
And you did not have a written lease with her?
No, ma'am.
Okay. How many other people lived in the house?
When we first moved
Other than, yes.
There was a total of 10 people, 7 adults and 3 kids.
Miss James, did you know that there were all those people living in your house?
No.
And you allowed your granddaughter to stay there? Was she supposed to pay rent?
Yes, she was.
Was she working?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the rent she was supposed to pay?
She was supposed to pay $3,000 a month.
Did she pay it?
Yes.
And I assume that you knew that in order for her to pay the rent.
No, that was not the agreement that I had with her.
The agreement was that just she would be living there?
Yes, she and her family. She had a husband and a child.
All right, so Miss Suessy, let's go back to you.
Yes, ma'am. We moved in there October of 2019.
Right. And what was your rental arrangement with Miss James's granddaughter?
We would move in the beginning of October, the October 1st to be exact. We would pay $600 a month. That was rent, including utilities. It was also supposed to include Wi-Fi in the house. When we got there, there were already roommates there, and that's what prolonged us to move in. Instead of moving in September, we moved in October because she still had other tenants in the house.
Other people there?
Yes.
Okay. So you lived there in October?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pay your $600 a month in October?
Yes, ma'am. The original agreement was to pay every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks?
Yes.
So you paid $300 every 2 weeks?
It was every 2 weeks, and then if you could not pay, inform her because she already takes care of the $3,000 was the mortgage at the time. So she already was taking care of the $3,000, and you just paid her.
You had a fixed rent.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen, you had a fixed rent. What I'm asking you is, in the month of October, did you pay $600?
Yes, ma'am.
In the month of November, did you pay $600?
I actually paid $800. They raised the rent on October the 20th.
In November?
Yes.
In rent?
Yes, ma'am.
In January, did you pay the $800 a month rent?
Yes, ma'am.
In February, did you pay the $800 a month rent?
No, and that's when the altercation began, and I gave them a 30-day notice to leave. Deontay was laid off due to the virus.
In February?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Lawrence, what kind of work were you doing?
I'm a cargo handler at LAX.
When in February were you laid off? That's a very early date to be. Miss Suessy, I'm not speaking to you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm speaking to Mr. Lawrence now. Mr. Lawrence.
I was laid off in February, early February.
You were laid off in early February because of COVID?
Yes, ma'am.
Not March.
Not March.
Are you sure about that?
I'm sure.
Your Honor, we also have a letter from his job as well, stating his layoff paper.
I'd like to see it.
It's right here.
Okay. You are being laid off temporarily on February 14th, and they have temporary lack of work due to coronavirus. Please refer to California Programs unemployment. Okay. So you did work half a month in February.
Yes.
And how much was your paycheck every 2 weeks?
Around $400, $500, but around that time we was slow on work and we were barely making our full. Wasn't enough work going on.
But you did get 2 paychecks in February.
Yes.
And Ms. Suessy, what kind of work do you do?
At the time, I was working for AT&T. I lost my job November the 4th. So I was Lyft driving, I was Postmating, DoorDash, those self-contracted. So that's how I was paying my portion of the rent.
Okay. So in February,
yes, ma'am,
when he was laid off, you knew it was temporary, but he did get paid for half a month of February, and you were still working.
In the end of January, my car broke down, and that's obviously how I drive, is because I have to, deliver food and stuff. So I ended up having to get a new car in February 4th to be exact. I had to buy a new car. So for about 3 weeks, we didn't have any income from my portion at all. So those 2 paychecks that he got, we had to pay back bills as well. So we didn't really have any money. Like, it was maybe checks were like $400.
Did you get a new car?
Yes.
What kind of car did you get?
Pre-owned Honda Accord.
How much do you pay a month on the car?
Oh, I paid $389 for my car note and about $215 for car insurance.
So about $600 a month.
Correct.
Okay. So you moved out in what month?
We actually were locked out of the house in February. February 28th, to be exact, was the first day of the lockout. And then February 29th, we were completely locked out. I gave a notice to Janine and to Eilina.
And where did you intend to go?
I had spoken with my dad to come back home.
Did your father agree to let you move home?
Yes, due to the situation, he allowed me to come back because I had my son.
With Mr. Lawrence?
No, Mr. Lawrence, I'm sorry. Deontay actually went back to his mother's house.
And that was your plan on the 11th, so that you could save money?
Yes, until we can figure out what our next steps were going to be.
Okay. The reason I'm asking these questions is because it's fine that you were planning because of his job situation. You were going to buy a new car and have a substantial car payment. I mean, you're trying to be organized. But you realize that up until February 11th, you had income from Mr. Lawrence, at least from Mr. Lawrence, and you paid $0 in rent.
Yes, so
for the month of February.
I paid nothing in February because I had multiple conversations with, at that time, Janine had took over as house manager since the granddaughter had moved out of state. I had multiple conversations with her telling her I was not working and then I will pay at the end of the month. And I actually submitted an evidence for a text message that Eilina texted the granddaughter knowing that I would pay on February 29th. And they still locked us out on the 28th.
How are you going to pay on February 29th?
Because once I got my car, I lived 6 hours a day. Because at that time, my son was in school, so I had to pay $655 a month for his daycare as well. So I was like Lyft driving consistently.
No, I get the idea that the two of you were really trying to put it together and to be responsible. But the bottom line of your responsibility was with regard to the roof over your head. You chose not to pay any rent in February, the beginning of February, or the middle of February while still living there. You bought a new car. You were paying $600 a month for the car. You were paying $600+ a month to keep your son in daycare. That's $1,200. The only one that you weren't paying anything to for you and for Mr. Lawrence was to the landlord, and you were planning on leaving. I say all those things, Miss Susi, because you're suing the defendant for $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're suing her for $5,000 for reasons that you say a partial return of rent. Well, why do you think you're due a partial return of rent?
Well, when we first made the arrangement to move into the house, we were told we would have a room. When we first got there, we lived in a loft. No door, no window. Oh, it had one window. We had to go upstairs. We had to pull the stairs down to even get to the loft. It was literally a small little box. We lived out of boxes for 4 months. We eventually moved down in January to a room, which was occupied at that time. We first moved in by another tenant. But in November, we found out that one of the roommates in the room, which happens to be her grandson, he's a schizophrenic. We weren't told that when we moved in. We've had to make multiple phone calls to the police to come take care of him, to take him to the hospital. I ended up having to send my son away to stay with his dad for about October to January, full time. I would wake up every morning, 6 a.m. to get to LA to take him to and from school, etc. Just because of the safety of the house. The house never stayed clean.
Okay, Miss Susi, let me stop you. Everyday grown-ups deal with choices, especially people who think they're grown up enough to have 2 children. And you and Mr. Lawrence had a choice. Mr. Lawrence had a choice to go home to his mother's house if he was not happy. You had a choice to ask your father if you could come home if you were not happy. You didn't have a lease. You were on a month-to-month tenancy. If you weren't satisfied with the loft, there was nothing holding you there. You could have left.
Well, it wasn't that easy.
If you were not satisfied with the room, what I'm telling you is people have choices and have to accept responsibility. If I were living in a place that I was not happy with or didn't feel feel safe in or didn't feel safe enough for my children to live there, I would say, I'm my dad and see if I can come home for a while until we can get settled. Mr. Lawrence was living with his mother. He's still living with his mother. So you had options. Your option was, if you didn't like the space that you were renting and paid for through February, you could have moved. So I'm not entertaining your request for a return of your rent.
We couldn't go back to our parents' house. Deontay doesn't have a room at his mother's house, and at my dad's house, my dad told me I couldn't come back.
That's not the defendant's fault.
I understand that.
That's not the defendant's fault.
But we were moved in under false circumstances, ma'am.
Listen to me. If you didn't like the loft, find another room.
We were supposed to get another room in
October.
November.
No. If you didn't like the place, find another place. You're not getting a partial return of your rent.
Okay.
Period. Those are your choices. Now, value of the property. What property are you alleging that the defendant either took from you or destroyed of yours?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This specific picture where she's saying she left her ring, I didn't see a ring, and we completely cleaned
That's a picture of the TV and the TV
and the blue
area.
boxes.
Miss Susie, was your TV sitting on top of those two blue boxes?
Yes.
Miss James, did you take Miss Susie's ring?
Aaron Susie and boyfriend Deontay Lawrence claim former landlord Eilena James illegally evicted them during the pandemic. Eilena is countersuing for 1 month's rent, late fees, and property damage.
Now, value of the property. What property are you alleging that the defendant either took from you or destroyed of yours?
I'm paying on a ring that I purchased from Daniels. When we got locked out of the house, when we were eventually able to recover our belongings, my stuff was already packed up. They had went into the room, which had a lock on my door. They took the doorknob off to go in the room. They packed up all of our stuff and had it by the front door. My ring is missing, his birth certificate is missing, and his social is missing, and we don't know where it is.
So let me stop.
Yes.
Let me stop. Do you have Mr. Lawrence's Social Security card?
No.
And birth certificate?
No.
Did you ever see it?
No.
What property of theirs did you pack up? And where did you get the boxes to pack it up, Miss James?
They had boxes in their room, and I supplied some boxes, just put the stuff in the boxes and took it downstairs. We didn't
Who's
go.
we?
My daughter and I, Janine.
Okay. Would Janine stand up and stand next to your mom, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see Mr. Lawrence's Social Security card or birth, Miss Susie, your ring?
There were blue tubs that my TV sat on that the ring was sitting next to. The ring was actually too big, so about 2 days before that, I took it off because I was going to get my nails done and I wouldn't be able to keep it on because it wasn't staying on my finger.
Okay. Did you get your TV back?
We got everything back eventually a week and a half later.
Okay. You got everything back, you say, but the ring?
Yes, ma'am. And I'm still paying on that.
Miss James, did you take Miss Susie's ring?
No.
Janine?
No, ma'am. I have a picture of the room, this specific picture where she's saying she left her ring. I actually have a picture of that area. So before we packed up anything, I took pictures of all the spaces, and that is a picture, and I didn't see a ring, and
That's
we completely cleaned
a picture of the TV and the TV
and the blue
area.
boxes.
Miss Susie, was your TV sitting on top of those two blue boxes?
Yes, and the ring was somewhere right there.
That's all?
Behind the TV.
Well, somewhere is not there.
Yes,
They don't have the ring. And they packed up your stuff from that mess that was left behind. Okay. Now, with regard to the unlawful lockout, it's clear to me, Miss Susie, that you intended, based upon your own conduct, to move out by March 10th because you gave 30-day notice on February 11th, correct? Okay. So, in effect, when they locked you out...
Yes, ma'am.
And they locked you out the end of February, it's 9 days that you were illegally locked out.
Okay.
9 days. Now, you didn't pay rent for the month of February, and your rent was $800.
Yes, ma'am.
I need a calculator, or I need Bird. Bird?
Yes, Judge.
Can you give me a daily rate on $800 a month? Let's base it on 30 days.
If I may, Your Honor, I do have a text message
No, there's not a question. There's not a question.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The reason I put her out was because she threatened to punch me in the face and tase my grandson.
Well, that's all a problem, but that doesn't give you the right
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy, Sharon Suessy, and boyfriend Deontay Lawrence claim former landlord Eilena James locked them out during the pandemic.
It's the daily rate on $800.
$26.66 a day, Judge.
Okay, and can you multiply that by 9, please?
$239.94.
I'm adding these numbers together, Bert, because I have a counterclaim here owed. But if I deduct the $250 as a penalty for putting them out 9 days too soon, that still leaves $550 that would be due and owing you on your rent for February, which I'm going to forfeit because I think it was wrong for you to lock them out on the 29th unless you have a reasonable explanation, because you got a 30-day notice from the plaintiffs that they were, in fact, moving out. And before that 30 days expired, because they told you they were leaving, so by the 9th of March, they were supposed to be gone. You could have changed the locks then.
Okay.
What moved you to move them out early?
Okay, first of all, they said they were leaving on January 1st, and they did not leave, they stayed. And then I had no reason to...
How did they tell you that they were leaving on January 1st?
My granddaughter told me that they were going to leave on January 1st.
But they never told you?
And they sent a text to Janine, because Janine was handling, and said they were leaving on January 1st.
Your Honor, we originally said we were leaving January the 1st because they tried to raise the rent again to $1,000. And I have a text message where I stated we will not be able to pay $1,000. And with the living conditions, I for sure was not paying $1,000, and I didn't have a room at that time either. I was living in the loft.
The reached me out and threatened to punch me in the face and tase my grandson.
Well, that's all a problem, but that doesn't give you the right. That gives you the right to seek a protective order against her. It does a lot of things, but it doesn't give you the right to violate the law. The law says that you cannot evict anybody.
Your Honor, this was all pre-COVID. We didn't hear about COVID
What was pre-COVID?
This whole situation was pre-COVID. The whole COVID announcement didn't happen until late mid-March.
I'm checking to see. Just give me a moment, and I'll come back to you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning sponsored by... Are you the victim of a scam? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Now, Bert, do you have the date?
Yes, I believe it was March 27th, 2020, the moratorium.
March 27th?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Wasn't sure. Now, you lived in the house up until the end of February, so you owe the defendant $800 for rent.
Can I ask you, ma'am, why, if his whole situation was due to the COVID and it's a valid paper from his employer, that was half of our income right there. I informed them.
I don't care what you informed them. You paid for your car and you paid for your child's daycare. The only thing that you didn't pay for was your rent. So you owe them $800 for rent on the counterclaim. Thank you very much. We're done.
This case is concluded. Parties are excused.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
The dog bit me on my thigh. I started screaming for her to get her dogs.
The doctor viewed 2 puncture wounds in her thigh.
She was okay.
She's being stupid.
Next Judge Judy.
There was literally 10 other people in the house before we got there.
The cleanliness of the house.
So I don't understand how she's saying it's our cleanliness.
I went to the house twice a month to clean up, and
we clean up after ourselves. We actually contributed to most of the cleaning supplies in the household.
Didn't want to rent it in the first place. Just left my granddaughter there.
I'm glad. I'm 6 months pregnant and I'm ready for it to be over.
And she rented to 1,000 people. I didn't know.
How fast does your scooter go?
38 miles an hour.
Terror on 2 wheels?
You could sort of scoot right down the middle lane. Ooh, zipping right along. That's frightening.
And the victims were piling up.
You on your electric scooter collided with the pedestrian. The scooter flipped in the air and hit his car.
This is Judge Judy. Motorist Linus Lee is suing Christopher Peterson for damaging his car when he hit it, riding his scooter.
Yeah, it's case number 36 on the calendar in the matter of Lee versus Peterson. Parties have been sworn in.
Mr. Lee, according to your complaint, in February of this year, on the 11th of February, in the evening at about 6 o'clock, you were driving your car. You were driving your car in San Francisco, and there was a lot of traffic. Is that right?
Correct.
Were you on your way home from work?
No, I was driving Uber.
Okay. So you were working, actually, that day. Did you have a passenger?
Yes, I do.
When this accident occurred, you had a passenger in your car?
Yes, I did.
What kind of car do you have, sir?
I 2007 Camry.
And how long have you been driving Uber?
A couple of years.
Do you do it every day, or do you have another job?
I do it every day.
Is that your sole source of income?
For now, yes.
Was it in February?
Yes.
On the same date, the defendant was driving an electric scooter. According to you, there was an accident, and the defendant's scooter damaged your car.
Correct.
You want to be compensated not only for the damage, but you had to have the car fixed, and the car was out for a period of time, and you want your lost income as a result of the accident. Defendant says it was somebody else's fault. So I'm going to start with you, Mr. Peterson. Since there is no issue that on the date of this incident, your scooter collided with the plaintiff's car. I read your answer. So there's no issue with regard to that, correct?
Correct.
And there is also no issue that the plaintiff's car did not hit your scooter, but your scooter hit his car,
That
correct?
is correct. Yep, absolutely.
And there is also no issue that you saw damage to his car as a result of your scooter hitting his car.
Yes.
Your defense is that the accident was caused by a jaywalking pedestrian who you tried to avoid but were unable to avoid. You, on your electric scooter, collided with the pedestrian. As a result of that, you were knocked off the scooter. The scooter flipped in the air and hit his car. Is that what happened, Mr. Lee?
Correct.
It is flesh on the bones. How fast does your scooter go, Mr. Peterson?
It goes...
What is the top speed it goes?
30,
top speed?
38 miles an hour.
That's pretty fast. Now, the traffic at the time of this incident, according to both of you, was bumper to bumper, moving very, very slowly.
Yes.
And you were traveling in the opposite direction from the plaintiff's car.
That's correct.
And you were, according to your answer, frustrated with the stalled traffic, so decided to, what do they call it?
I believe it's called lane splitting.
Lane splitting. And lane splitting, I gather from where you were, was you went in between the cars going in the opposite direction. So you were going in the opposite direction from the plaintiff, but right next to the plaintiff, there were cars going in the opposite direction of him, and you were straddling the double yellow line.
That is
lane
correct.
splitting.
Lane splitting. You got it.
And I would assume that when you were riding your scooter, there was a time when you ride your scooter in the same direction as traffic, which I assume since bicycles must do, so must scooters, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And that you were frustrated because they were going so slowly, they weren't whizzing by, right?
That's right.
You could sort of scoot right down the middle lanes, right?
Safely scoot on the middle lanes. That's right.
Safe to say you were scooting. How fast would you estimate you were going while you were scooting?
Approximately 15 miles an hour.
Okay. Now, how fast do you think the pedestrian was walking who was jaywalking?
I would estimate that he was walking at about 2.5 miles an hour.
Okay. So if something is traveling 15 miles an hour, hits that's on a vehicle, because your scooter is a vehicle. It is not your feet. So if it's not your feet and if it has the capability of traveling up to 38 miles an hour, it's a vehicle. How much damage do you think you could do if you hit that pedestrian and made a different sort of a contact than you fortunately did with that pedestrian?
There definitely could be
Substantial.
damage. Yeah, it would be substantial. Yeah.
Definitely could be damage. I know what it's like when, we all come to our respective jobs with a certain amount of human experience in our minds. And some things are the law and some things are factual. So I'll get to the law in a minute. But Right now, it's factual. And I know if I'm walking in the street rather than on the sidewalk, and they feel safer on the sidewalk rather than in the street with cars, they feel safer. But the pedestrians on the sidewalk, when they're walking with other people that are maybe walking at a comfortable, easy pace, and something comes zipping by at 15 miles an hour on the sidewalk, that's frightening.
Indeed.
Indeed, indeed, it is. So when you decided to take a risk and lane split, you had to be cautious enough to anticipate that someone, a child, a dog, might dart out into traffic, and we're talking about nighttime, right? Might dart out into traffic, and you, traveling at 15 miles an hour or better, could have caused some serious injury, just as somebody driving a car has to anticipate that, especially if they're taking a shortcut, that something that they didn't anticipate would happen. So what you want me to say is the pedestrian caused the accident, not me, right? That's what you want me to say. And therefore, Mr. Lee should have found the pedestrian that caused the accident and sued him. That's what you want me to say. You were also in a position to speak to the pedestrian, right? That's what you say in your answer. Right? Well, that's a yes or a no. You say in your answer you spoke to the pedestrian because you got knocked off and he got knocked off. You both spoke to each other and made sure that you were both okay.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right. We both fell, and the first thing I said is, are you okay?
Right. Because if he wasn't okay, I guarantee you he would sue you. He wouldn't sue Mr. Lee. He would sue you. Because you chose to lane split, go 15 miles an hour where he was not anticipating, or better, your scooter was going to be lane splitting. The pedestrian saw that traffic was at a standstill and figured it was okay to cross the street, okay? So this is what you can do. Since I assume you didn't get the name and address of the pedestrian, did you?
No.
Well, that's your fault. Because what you could have done if Mr. Lee sues you because it's your scooter. The pedestrian didn't hit his car. Your scooter hit his car. That we all agree on. So if Mr. Lee sues you, you have the right under the law to implead the pedestrian and say, listen, if I'm responsible to Mr. Lee because my scooter was the vehicle that caused damage to his car, I'm going to bring into this case the pedestrian because it was really pay me. Why is that Mr. Lee's obligation to do? That's your obligation to do. You exchanged information with him, correct? That's how you're here.
Correct. I anticipated being a witness to this. I did not anticipate him coming after me.
Well, yeah, just the same way, Mr. Peterson, that you didn't anticipate that somebody might be walking in between cars in dead stop traffic at 6 o'clock at night when it was dark and decided to lane split. You anticipated wrong that he was going to sue the pedestrian and not the person whose vehicle struck his. Okay, can I see pictures of your car, sir?
Yes. I have a video too.
I'd like to see it.
Oh, okay.
How did you get a video?
I got a dash cam.
Oh, you have a dash cam?
Correct.
Ooh, zipping right along. Who were you scootering with, sir?
I was scootering with myself and my pool stick.
Yourself and your pool stick?
Yeah.
Would you play that again? There was nobody else there? I thought that I saw two people. Maybe I missed it. Go ahead. Oh, no, it was... I see what it was. It was a reflection from the other car. Yes, you were actually zipping right along. Can I see the damage?
First one.
I see one. You say you have two?
I got three.
I'd like to see all three.
These are the scratches from the scooter.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. This is the last one. This is damage here.
Oh, well, that one's substantial.
Correct.
That one's substantial. Did you have it fixed?
Not yet.
Can I see the estimates to fix it, please?
Yes. This is the first page. The second page.
I just want to see the total. Okay. Anything else?
Yes. This is the third page.
Yeah, you're going a little overboard, Mr. Lee. Now, are you still driving Uber or are you doing anything else, sir?
I'm still driving Uber, but since I spoken to, before I came here, I spoken to a repairer, and they can do it for 5 days. So this is not the exact amount that I'm suing for. Now it's reduced.
Mr. Lee, that's not my question to you. I asked you, do you have another job other than Uber?
I don't.
Now?
No.
Okay. Now, since this incident happened, Mr. Lee, which was in February, and you were driving your 13-year-old Camry.
Yes.
Since February.
Average every day I make about $250 to $300. That is I gross. Sometimes a little bit over $300.
And you were able to make $250 or $300 a day despite your scratched car.
Yes.
Yes, right?
Yes.
Just give me a second, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
she came home from school while the plaintiff was living there, and so you and your daughter were sleeping in the living room.
We were sleeping in our dining room.
Dining room, living room, whatever it was. It was not the way it was when Miss Barnett came there.
motorist Linus Lee claims Christopher Peterson was splitting lanes on his scooter when he ran into his car.
Mr. Lee, it looks to me as if the average price of a 2003 Camry like yours is about $3,500. I don't know how much mileage you have on your car, but I think it would probably be a mistake to spend more than $2,000 to fix it. I certainly wouldn't spend $4,000 to fix a car that you could buy for $3,500 to have the scratches taken out, which are the first two pictures, and the other one, you could probably do that in 2 days. Whether you could or whether you could not, I'm awarding you $2,500. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. This case is concluded. You are excused.
No, I was, safely lane splitting. I'm a big fan of micro-mobility.
I waited for him to contact me for 14 days, but he did not, so I sued him.
And this guy came out of, nowhere, slammed on the brakes.
It's his business, none of my business.
Tried to minimize all damage, so made sure he was okay right away. It was just an unfortunate event.
Yes, I gotta get my car fixed.
I believe that all of the blame fundamentally lies with the jaywalking pedestrian.
All parties in the matter of Barnett versus Brown. Step to the podium, please.
Ted Barnett and his daughter, 21-year-old Claire, are suing Claire's former roommate, Lisa Brown, for the return of rent and a security deposit.
Mr. Barnett, this is your daughter, and she decided to transfer schools. She's a full-time student. That was in December of last year. She needed a place to stay, and I assume you answered an ad on the internet or through a realtor because Miss Brown was, the cost of the room was $1,300 a month. I assumed that Miss Barnett, you had kitchen privileges and all the other things that go with having a room in a house. How large a house was it?
I'm not sure exactly the square footage, but it was a one-bedroom apartment.
So you rented the bedroom?
Yes, I rented the one bedroom.
And where did Miss Brown sleep?
She slept in a bed in the living room.
Miss Brown, had you used the bedroom as your bedroom prior to Miss Barnett moving in?
Yes, I did. And my apartment is pretty large, so I was able to partition off.
No, don't tell me it's pretty large. I asked you a specific question. Did you, in fact, use the bedroom before you rented the room to Miss Barnett?
Yes.
And before you rented the room to Miss Barnett, who lived with you?
My daughter lived with me I'm going to say when I first signed the lease, she lived with me.
She rented just 1 second. Mm-hmm. Let's go back.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your daughter came home from school and stayed.
And brought a dog.
She studied remotely.
They knew the dog was there.
Just a second. Mr. Barnett, I didn't ask you anything. And if you're winning, I would tell you it's a good time to keep your mouth shut.
Real cases, real people. Judge. Claire's former roommate, Lisa Brown, is withholding her security deposit. Lisa is countersuing for unpaid rent.
Now, Miss Barnett saw the room in December, signed a lease. In December, where was your daughter living?
She was in East Coast. She did not live with me.
And when, immediately prior to December of 2019, when did your daughter live with you, if she ever did?
She lived with me for the month of May until August of 2019.
So from May until August?
Yes.
And prior to May, she didn't live with you?
No, prior to May, she did not live with me.
She lived with you for about, she was what?
She's a student at San Francisco State.
Okay. So she was a student and she lived with you during the summer.
Yes.
And then she went back to school. So you moved in, signed a lease, and it's not a very difficult case. As the world knows, in February, March of this year, we have a global pandemic, and most students were learning remotely by March. Correct, Ms. Barnett?
Correct.
And that includes your daughter.
Correct.
Because she came home from school in December while the plaintiff was living there, or she came home as a result of the pandemic and stayed. So the two of you now, you and your daughter, were sleeping in the living room.
We were sleeping in our dining room.
Dining room, living room, whatever it was. It was not the way it was when Miss Barnett came there.
Yes.
Now, how many bathrooms are there in the house, Miss Barnett?
There's one bathroom.
Okay, so this is a very easy case. I'm going to get to it. You left to move back home. There is no question in my mind that either you or you and your daughter moved back to the bedroom. You didn't get another boarder in the house.
Well, due to the COVID situation.
You want your security deposit back.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's what the case is about. Now, your property was there until the end of March 22nd. So you wanted a pro-rata part of your rent for March. That you can't get. But unless you're prepared to tell me that she damaged something in the house, she gets her security deposit back, Ms. Brown. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor. There was actually in the lease that she signed, there was a section, and it's there, that says that if the lease was broken prior to a natural cause, that there was a fee of $1,300 that would be charged.
Okay, so I'm going to answer your question. It's very simple.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning sponsored by... Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
The room in your house with one bathroom, the intention was, and your intention was, that two people would be using that bathroom, two people would be using the kitchen, two people, not three. As a result of the pandemic, things changed. And one of the things that's changed is 1/3 of the bathroom was now being used by your daughter. 1/3 of the kitchen was now being used by your daughter. All consequences as unintended consequences of the pandemic. Your daughter came home from school and stayed.
And brought a dog.
She studied remotely.
They knew the dog was there.
Just a second. Mr. Barnett, I didn't ask you anything. And if you're winning, I would tell you it's a good time to keep your mouth shut.
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,300.
Ma'am, I have a countersuit as well.
It's dismissed. I just told you. It's dismissed. You have to return her security deposit. Is your daughter still living home?
Well, she was there
Is
at
your
home.
daughter? My question is a simple one. Is your daughter still living home?
Yes.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
This case is concluded. Parties are excused.
And on the next Judge Judy, did she take the money and run?
You did not rebuild the house. Do you get where I'm going, Miss Cassis?
No.
I have all the answers.
Next Judge Judy.
The room, and she had full access to the room.
You know, me and Lisa and her daughter, we all had a very pleasant time living together.
And my